Welcome to a Neon Jazz interview collective with Alto Saxophonist and Educator in New York City, Caroline Davis, and Denver-based trumpeter, cornetist, and composer Ron Miles and guitarist Jeff Swanson. Each of these talented musicians took some time to talk about the June 30, 2015 release of the new album Dancing on the Inside as a part of the band called Whirlpool. This talented lineup also includes Charles Rumback on the drums. Each of these musicians took some time to discuss the creative forces that went into this impressive new album, along with the string of Midwestern tour dates to support this release. During one portion of the interview, we spoke with both Caroline and Jeff, and on another we spoke with Ron. They are all very insightful, talented, and ready to hop into that proverbial jazz whirlpool. Please dig this collective interview, my friends.
Thank you for reaching out. I love the album. I've been listening to it heartily.
It's great.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful listen. It's a wonderful album. So let me go ahead and start at the very top here and ask, as a group and as a musician and musicians, what has been going on lately?
Well, since we live in different places, Jeff and Charles live in Chicago, and I live in New York, and then Ron Miles lives in Denver, Colorado. We've just been trying to keep the momentum going by playing little isolated shows when we can. So the last time we played as a trio was in March in Chicago, and that was a really great show to get back together and work on some of this material. But we're gearing up for shows here at the beginning of July with Ron, and then we're going to drive to Iowa City to play at the Jazz Festival there, which we're very honored to be included in that lineup.
That's wonderful. So kind of the way that this came together for such despairing big geographies that you were pulling together, how did all of you bring everything together to record this album and to make it something where you're going to tour and turn into a bigger entity?
I think it's just planning ahead, really, because we're all really committed to this project when it comes down to it. It's just a matter of lining up all the schedules and finding, the funding to get everybody in the same place. So that's why I guess we're kind of doing some more isolated things at this point, where it's, a few days here. Later in September, we're also going to be doing a short run of shows around the Midwest, ending, I think, with the Hyde Park Jazz Festival in Chicago. So it tends to be at this point more like festival dates and some scattered kind of like one-off things here and there.
It always strikes me, too, with jazz musicians, you always have so many irons in the fire. There's always so many things going on. And the beauty, I think, too, is there's such a communal environment of friendship and collaboration. Is that kind of this album a testament to that spirit of jazz that is pulsing here in this country in 2015?
I think so. I think we really, I think we get along as a group very well, and like being around each other and coming back together to play the music is almost like rekindling old friendships in a way, and it's nice to involve someone so experienced as Ron Miles, because we're actually all still getting to know him. I think Charles has known him the longest, but he's a very easy and laid back person to get to know. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. So it's not hard to get along with him and to kind of create that camaraderie with him. That's really exciting, because for me, that's like another generation of a kind of musician that I really respect, and I see all of his bands he's involved with, and that's something that I look up to as a second generation, So creating that camaraderie and that sense of community across the generations is like really, really fun and exciting.
What are your expectations for this album when you get out and start getting it out there in the public? What do you want to see happen?
As we said, we're planning ahead for bigger things. We're trying to play obviously more festival days and things where it's, there's funding available to get everybody in the same place, because it is a little harder to do, smaller dates with Ron because he's so far away and Caroline's in New York City. So to make it all work, we're kind of looking at things like festivals and tours that involve, clinics and things that can really kind of keep the momentum going. as far as like a financial side of it. But also I think we're just trying to create more opportunities to play with Ron. We really had an amazing experience the first time that we got to play with him in Colorado. During our first release, This World and One More, we had one date where we played in Denver, and he came and sat in on a set, and it was just kind of an amazing experience that was so good that we were like, we have to do this again. And that's kind of how this whole album came to be, was because we had that one experience playing with him and wanted to do it again. So really at this point, it's just trying to find more things that we can, you know, create opportunities to play with Ron on, I think. At least for me, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I feel the same way, like finding some more local festivals in New York too, kind of trying to bring the band out here to the East Coast and do some festivals here and some bigger shows and potentially some education outreach kind of programs, teaching people about how to write for ensembles that don't have bass. That's a really cool thing we've done in the past, and I want to keep pushing in that direction too, because having these unconventional ensembles is something that I think a lot of people strive for as composers. So talking to kids about that is important to me as well.
On Whirlpool, what did you learn about yourself as a musician, and how did you grow, not only professionally but as a person? What was that? What's that experience been like with this album for you?
Well, I think this particular album, because of the nature of where everybody's at in life and geographically, planning ahead more and just like being patient, having patience with this process, because we recorded this a while ago now. So it's not something that we were just kind of able to throw together. It's something that we had to put a lot of thought into, and, you know, just take our time really getting it together and creating the opportunities for this thing to happen. And I think it comes from a writing aspect too. The music wasn't necessarily all ready immediately. It was kind of things were coming together slowly, and then finally the record date was there and it was time to go. And it worked out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, I really appreciate everything that Ron brought to the recording process, and also, you know, sometimes young minds are focused on other little things. Like sometimes my mind can be focused on the little technical details of a song, or like where the music is going or whatever. But I feel like his perspective was so grand, and thinking about like the overall direction of the music, and you know, sometimes holding back what he was playing at any given moment, but then releasing that kind of holding back later in the piece, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So I feel like his direction was so much more just polished and experienced and just like elder. I mean, he's not that old, but he just has this great way of holding back in some ways, but then when he does give you that like release, it's so much more unique and special, because he's aware of when that would have happened, you know, and instead of just like being worried about those little technical moment differences, you know.
Why Whirlpool? Why is the name of Whirlpool?
Well, the band name comes from, the namesake is a song that Paul Motion wrote called Whirlpool, that's on one of his records called Over and Over Again, I think.
Okay.
It's his trio with Bill Frisell and Joe Lovano, and which is also a baseless trio, which is how we kind of got started. There was this house concert, and I kind of wanted to put a band together to play a bunch of Paul Motion's music, and Jeff and Charles, we played, and then we were like, we have to have a band, and why don't we call it Whirlpool, because that's, you know, one of the songs we played on our first gig, and it's a beautiful melody, and yeah. And then some of the names, I'll talk about my compositions, some of the names for mine, like I wrote this song on this record called The Crew, and that refers to the crew of musicians that were under the tutelage of Lenny Tristano. So like Warren Marsh and Lee Conant, being the main saxophone influences of mine. And so I wanted to write a song that reminded me of that community, and that's where that name comes from.
Yeah, I have just 3 tracks on this, and the first, I'm trying to think how the order of my tunes goes, but I guess The Ocean Knows All of Your Secrets. Well, it's kind of like a suite, I suppose you could say. We had played around with this idea of making this record kind of 3 suites by each of the members, which didn't exactly come together, but my pieces still felt kind of did that, so that's why they're actually all clumped together like that on the CD. So I think The Ocean Knows was just a phrase that one of my friends had mentioned, and I liked it, so nothing really too special about that one, but I just liked the phrase, so I used it. I think that one, I guess it relates to a lot of different things, but for me, music can be kind of a way to deal with outside things that are going on in life. So I guess for me, that song was a remedy to kind of take my focus off of some of the things that were happening, maybe that weren't as positive in life, and, you know, turn it into something positive. I think that, you know, is a song that I don't hate. So I think that's a pretty good turnaround. And then the other one was Secret. The original phrase for The Ocean Knows was The Ocean Knows All of Your Secrets. So I think I just kind of took a piece of that and put that at the end for that piece, just to kind of separate them. And I felt somehow that those two pieces kind of work together too. The Ocean Knows and Secret, they're kind of somehow tied, even though they were written at very different times. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how some of those tunes came together.
Yeah, and Charles, the drummer in the band, he has this insatiable way of coming up with titles for albums. He came up with the title for our first album, This World and One More, which is a phrase that his grandmother always used to say. Like, she would just be sitting down at the table and she'd be kind of fed up with things. She'd be like, wow, this world and one more. Nice. And so that was a special tribute to her. And then this album comes from his song Dancing on the Inside. And I believe it's about a concert that he went to see. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was at a concert and there weren't people dancing or something, and the person who was on stage said they're dancing on the inside or something. And he tells the story way better than I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I believe he was maybe referencing Chicago. People in Chicago dance on the inside instead of outside. But yeah, basically. His delivery was better. But
his delivery is way better than mine.
Very nice, very nice. So I think I know the answer to this, but is there plans on doing more work, more albums, more things with Ron and the unit you have that was on this album?
I think so, yeah. I would love to see that happen. And I think that's kind of the end goal here, is to create more opportunities for records and tours and festivals and all these types of things that we're trying to make happen.
Yeah. I very much like the concept of collaborating with artists and musicians from Denver. I don't know, I just have this feeling of connection to that scene. And so my vision is personally to include another musician who might be from Denver. I already kind of have thoughts about that, but I'll keep them to myself and we'll keep it a mystery.
Cool. Well, let me ask you this. If you could somehow supplant a voice in someone's head that's looking through their local weekly and your show comes across, and you could whisper something to them that would convince them to go see you play your music live, what would you say?
Well, first I would say, please come to my show. No, but in all sincerity, I think there's a quality about this band that I don't always get in some of the more jazz, I guess, based groups that I play in. There's kind of an inviting quality, I think, that connects more on just a song level. So I don't feel like you have to be the hardest, bebop fan in the world to come check out this music. In fact, it's, not really coming from necessarily that vantage point, but more just songs that are approachable by all types of people. And I feel like that's a quality that really stands out about this group, is that it's really just songs, and communication that we create through improvisation, based on these songs.
Right on.
Our music includes a vast variety of kinds of music, and I also sing in the band, so we like to explore that avenue of kind of open pop music in a way. It's more improvisatory, approachable music.
You're a part of Whirlpool, the collaboration with Caroline Davis, Jeff Swanson, and Charles Rumback. Talk to me a little bit about the beginnings of this group and kind of the evolution to current day.
Well, I mean, they're a long-standing working band, so they have a great way of playing, and they asked me to sit in with them when they came through Denver one time, and I enjoyed playing with them, and I think they felt like maybe I made a positive contribution to their music. So from that point, they set up a recording and asked would I participate in, and I was happy to do so. So they still are really a band, and I get to be a part of this particular project. I look at it more than me insinuating my way inside the band, even though it would be an honor to be a part of their band. I think they're a pretty self-contained trio as it is. So
they're going to release the album Dancing on the Inside. You all are going to release the album on June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about your feelings on this release and kind of the creative energy that went into this album.
Well, they brought a lot of great music in, and we got a chance to play a couple of gigs and rehearse a bunch. And like I say, I think that the real great thing about them is they play so well together. They have developed a real language, a real approach to playing that also, for me, it was nice that they made me feel welcome, and that their view is not so narrow that they can't let somebody else kind of come in and suggest some things and work with them as well. So it felt like a really, really natural approach. And also just I think that their instrumentation of a single melodic instrument, guitar and drums, is a situation I've played with a lot as well, and so that made me feel at home as well.
So talk to me about the Midwestern tour you're going to go on to promote this album. That's going to be coming up, I believe, in September. How do you feel about those dates? What's it going to be like to get together and to actually present this to the people?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I must say that that's the most exciting, because I must say the record seems so long ago that that can't sorry, my phone, sometimes people are calling. I hope that didn't interrupt there. That this is where the music's really going to chance to grow and breathe a lot. Like I say, it was pretty darn new when we approached it that last time. So a chance to play several dates in a row are going to allow us to really investigate the possibilities of not only the songs but the group interaction as well.
So do you have any plans on doing any more work with Whirlpool in the future? More recordings, more touring, anything else?
Oh gosh, well I would be game, that's for sure. I think it's really kind of as they develop along the line, if they see me fitting in, but I feel like I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to having a great time playing with them live. So yeah, if the opportunity presents itself, then I'm all in with them for sure. Like I say, they're three of my favorite young musicians, and more than anything, I think that they're one of my favorite bands. They really, like I say, I just love their compositions and the way that they play together.
Amen, man. Ron, thank you for your time.
Okay, take care.
Thank you so much for your time.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning into yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Chicago, New York, Kansas City, Denver, and spots all over America, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Caroline, Ron, and Jeff for their time and their collective jazz prowess creating this excellent music. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or you can visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.